video today about blocking brute force login attempts, which hackers can use to crack your administrator or other user accounts on your website. There's two basic methods of blocking brute force attacks on websites. The first, which is most commonly used by plugins like WordFence or Limit Login Attempts Reloaded. These plugins keep a list of every IP address and every failed login attempt for each user, and after a certain threshold is reached, they lock that user account so that no one can log in, even if they have the username and password. Now, this works great for most cases, but it has two major flaws. The first is that if someone already knows a username and password, this is called credential stuffing, where hackers get username and passwords from other websites and then spam them out across the internet to see which websites those account credentials work on. If that's the case, those username and passwords are valid on the website. It comes through as the first attempt, and the limiting login attempts does nothing to prevent the invalid login. The second problem with this method is plugins like WordFence have a default threshold of 20 failed login attempts before they log out or lock you out, with a 4-hour lockout window. Now, the problem with this is whenever hackers start to build up lists of websites they've compromised, they build what's called a botnet. And these botnets can be hundreds of thousands of browsers large, but even a small botnet of only 1,000 machines sending 20 password attempts per user account every 4 hours can send over 100,000 login attempts per user per day. So these are the two main vulnerabilities with this technique. The thing I want to show you is an alternate approach, the one that we use at BitFire, which is bot blocking. Now, before we get into what bot blocking is and how it works, I'm going to show you exactly how this technique functions. We're going to use a tool called WP Scan. This is built by the WordPress automatic team. So this is, you can think of this as the official security tool for WordPress. What we're going to do is we're going to tell it to attack. Here's our test website here, WordPress.bitfire.co. Let's make sure that BitFire is not enabled. Excellent. That way we won't be having an interference. We're going to turn the detection mode off. By default, it scans for a whole bunch of backup files. We don't want it to do that. Then we're going to use the users in this text file and the passwords in this text file. Now, the user in the first file has just one user, and the passwords, there's only 60 some passwords in the password file. I did that just to make this real quick, just so you could see exactly how this works. You don't have to wait minutes for the password scan to run. Once this gets started, you'll see it runs pretty quickly here. We go through the 63 users in about 2 or 3 seconds, and we found a valid username of Jack with the password of Mustang. This is a default WordPress install. This is with no extra security add-on out of the box. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. If we go over here to BitFire, we can see it sends a ton of invalid login requests to this WP login.php script, and it uses this WP scan WordPress security scanner as the default user agent that it's identified as. Now, once we come to settings, and we click enable, and we come back over here, and when we rerun the same scan attempt, we're going to see something a little bit different. Because we specified random user agent, WP Scan is going to pick a random user agent. It might be Safari, it might be Internet Explorer, it could be Firefox, it might be Chrome. And what you'll see here is this says unknown response received, code 428. 428 is an HTTP code for, what is 428 actually? HTTP code 428. Let's see if Mozilla's got it pretty good. Precondition required. Response status indicates the server requires the request to be conditional. Okay, excellent. So the reason we use that 428 header is because what it's actually sending, what the firewall is actually sent for all of these requests, not just after the lockout attempts, for every single attempt, it sent a browser verification code. This is very similar to what you get if you've ever seen the Cloudflare, verifying your connection to security, prove that you're human. And the way it works in BitFire is we have a list of over, I don't know, maybe 30 different web browsers with lots of different verification signatures or fingerprints for each web browser. Now, if someone claims to be, for in this case, Chrome, and you can see I picked Chrome version 9, which this is a 15-year-old web browser, which I don't think anyone on the planet is still using. This fingerprint does not match a valid Chrome fingerprint. So what BitFire did is it served a browser verification page, just like what you see on the Cloudflare. Please verify that you're human. Click this button to continue. The BitFire one is completely transparent and you don't have to click anything. It requires no human interaction. I'll do another video on that later. But the bot blocking has completely limited the ability for any tool to connect and spam any login credentials. And even if we specify, let's do this, let's cat P2. This is just, we're going to send one request with just the password. We're not going to send 60 requests this time. And we're going to do the exact same thing. And it's going to run through the exact same setup procedure. And it's going to fail with the response code 428. That's because not a single login attempt was able to go through. Now, I want you to think about this. There's 3 types of web requests. There's the ones from a valid human, right? Like this lady here. So when we come over here and we look at this and we see Chrome version 9, right? But we notice that the fingerprint doesn't match Chrome version 9. It's also pretty unlikely that anyone's using Chrome version 9. When we see that and we see something that looks really unusual, we send a JavaScript challenge down to the web browser. It's transparent, just like any other JavaScript that runs on your website. But her browser will be able to verify that and send back a response proving that she's a human, and this request will be allowed. Okay. Now, because this tool here, which said it was Chrome, has no idea what JavaScript is, it has no idea how to interpret it, it just fails. And that goes not just for login attempts, that goes for every hacking tool, every exploit. 99.99% of all web attacks are automated. Okay. Now, this is one type of user, and I've showed you how we can verify those. The next one, tools like Googlebot, SEO Moz, Uptime Robot. There's thousands and thousands of tools and robots and scrapers and crawlers scanning your website or connecting to it. Maybe you have a backup service like Updraft Plus, and those backup services sometimes connect to your website to download whatever updates have happened. We need to be able to handle those cases as well, and we need to differentiate these tools from hacking tools, right? The problem is that the hacking tools can say they're a normal web browser or they're a normal tool, like something like Googlebot that we'd like to use. What BitFire does is we have a list of over 3,500 approved tools with the source network verification, so that if someone says that they're the Uptime Robot, they can only connect from the Uptime Robot servers. If someone says they're Googlebot, they can only connect from the Googlebot servers. If someone says they're the SEO Moz tool, they can only connect from the SEO Moz tool. We've purchased commercial data from tools like Alexa and other systems like that that collect huge terabytes and terabytes of browser data on the internet. We've cross-correlated that with source DNS entries, whois data, source geographic IP and IP addresses, and we've included all of that in the BitFire product so that when a bot tries to connect to your website, we can instantly verify it and approve it or deny it. So since we can prove what tools are what tools, and we can prove humans are humans, what BitFire does is this third classification of tool, it drops all of this on the floor, including your failed login attempts. That said, I'm going to do a whole bunch more videos over the next couple weeks about BitFire. There's links down below in the description. I'll try to include some other links to some other videos that you might be interested in if you found this helpful. Please drop a like or a comment down in the description. It really, really helps me out a ton. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time.